Alright guys, so basically before the video starts, I mentioned about Kung Lao's returning overhead that he had back in MKX, where I would love for it to return in this game, and he should have it in both variations and possibly the third variation if they decide to make a third one. And I also said that he should have his low buzzsaw back. Now of course, what I forgot to tell you guys is that instead of his low buzzsaw being a projectile that's a low, it should turn into a string, meaning that he should have the option for his back to 2. You understand what I'm saying? And then he should have an option where he goes for an overhead into a low buzzsaw. You understand what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? They should give him 2 new strings, right? They should give him 2 new strings. Well, the back to 2 is not new, but the overhead low situation is definitely a new string, meaning that you have to press back 2 down 1, and that will allow you to get a combo if you manage to open up the opponent. Now when it comes to the double overhead, which is the back 2-2, you're not going to be able to get a combo off of that whatsoever like he did back in MKX. The only way that you can get a combo off of that is if you meet the crushing blow requirements, meaning that if you manage to hit the opponent 2 times with that move, you understand what I'm saying, and then on the 3rd time you manage to hit that opponent on that move, then you can get the crushing blow, and then that would actually be a hard knockdown instead of a pop-up. You understand what I'm saying? And then you will get the hit advantage, and then you can continue pressure or whatever the case may be, or you could just pop the opponent up into the air. It doesn't really matter to me, but then again, I prefer for him to have a hard knockdown instead of a pop-up. You understand what I'm saying? And he should get like some decent damage off of it or whatever the case may be. This is the thing that I forgot to tell you guys, so you guys will hear about it. I showed clear examples of what string I'm talking about and what special move that I was actually talking about. The only reason why I forgot to tell you guys that was because I was in a rush, I was busy and stuff like that. But anyway, back to the main video. Hopefully everybody's having a good day. Thanks for all the love and support. Appreciate you guys a lot. Enjoy the video. Alright, what's going on guys? It's Zero here. So basically I wanted to make a short video talking about Kung Lao and what I would do to buff him and certain things that I would do to change him to make him a better character to where he can compete with the A+ tier and the S tier characters. I think I'm going to make a video for a couple of other characters, and you guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below. So let's get started. Alright guys, so basically the first thing that I would actually do with Kung Lao is I would actually change his orbiting hat from being -7 on block, and I would actually make him +5 or +6 on block. I don't think it's fair that he loses a defensive bar and an offensive bar and he's still minus on block. I don't agree with that. I think he should be +5 or +6 on block to where he can get some kind of pressure going onto the opponent. This is the first thing that I would actually do with him. Now also keep in mind that I have no problem with the way that they set this up where he loses a defensive bar and an offensive bar. I think that's perfectly balanced. I don't think there's anything wrong with that whatsoever. I think they should keep it that way, but I would definitely change the block advantage on his move to where he's +5 or +6 on block. I don't agree with the fact that this dude is super minus on block and he can't really get any kind of pressure going because he is a pressure character. Now I'm not saying I want him to be super OP. I'm just saying he should have a fighting chance against A+ tier characters and S tier characters. So this is the first thing that I would actually do with Kung Lao. Not only that, I would actually speed up the respawn time of his hat. So first of all, when he goes for this, he can't get any pressure first of all because he's minus on block. But say for instance he is plus on block. The problem that I have is that he can no longer, while his hat is gone, he can no longer go for any type of hat. So if I decide to go for his 4-2, watch what happens. As you can clearly see here, his hat does not respawn. What I would do is his hat would immediately respawn to where he can actually do whatever he wants. I don't agree with the fact that he can't get his hat coming out, because I think it's kind of ironic how you can do this and amplify. He has 2 hats, and not only that, he can teleport with his hat, and he has 3 hats that actually come out. So I think that's pretty interesting. So this is the first thing that I would actually do with Kung Lao, is I would actually make him +5 or +6 on block, and then I would actually allow him to have his hat respawn a lot quicker to where he can use certain strings that involve his hat to where he can get better pressure going on to the opponent. And this is exactly what I would do with Kung Lao's special move. So now it's time to get on to other things that I would do with Kung Lao. Alright guys, so basically the next thing that I would actually do with Kung Lao is I would actually fix his teleport. The only character in the game that can actually stop Kung Lao from doing this is actually Geras. Geras has a 6 frame down 1 that can actually stop him, which means that Geras is only 1 frame faster than Kung Lao, where he can actually get a punish on Kung Lao and get the hit advantage and continue his pressure or whatever the case may be. What I would do is I would actually make Kung Lao -10 or -11 on block instead of him being -7 on block to where he's actually safe. The reason why is because he has a pretty strong mix-up. If the opponent predicts that he is actually going to go for a overhead, guess what happens? They get thrown. You understand what I'm saying? They will get thrown every single time they predict that. And not only that, right, he has a high hit advantage to where he can go for a punish, and he can get his crushing blow if I can time it right. Hold on, let me see if I can get this. Damn it, almost had it. There it is. And then for Kung Lao, you know, he can get whatever combo that he wants or whatever the case may be. So this is exactly what I would actually do with Kung Lao, because if the opponent predicts that he is going to go for an overhead, he can hit him with a throw. And if they decide to neutral crouch, he has 2 options that he can do. He can either hit the opponent with an overhead, get the hit advantage, and go in for a punish, as you can clearly see right here, or he can just get the crushing blow. So this is exactly what I would do with Kung Lao. Not only that, what I would actually do to fix his mid situation, I would allow the pushback to be there, but I would actually make Kung Lao actually -7 on block when he goes for this mid. He will be safe. Why am I on record? I don't know why I am doing that. But he will be safe on block when he goes for this mid. You understand what I'm saying? Because there is major pushback, but he will be -7 on block. You understand what I'm saying? And that's exactly what I would do with Kung Lao's teleport. So now it's time to talk about another thing with Kung Lao and what I would do to actually fix him. Alright guys, so basically what I would give Kung Lao for his overhead situation is I would give him his back 2-2 string, and I would actually give him his buzzsaw to complement that. So for people who don't know what it is, it's his MK11 string, and here's a clip of it right here. Alright guys, you're about to see what I was talking about. Instead of it being a projectile or whatever the case may be, it will actually be a string where it's overhead low, and then he has the option for a double overhead. And this is exactly what I would do with Kung Lao. So enjoy the rest of the video. So basically what I would actually do with this is that if he manages to hit the opponent with his back 2-2 string, he will not be able to get a combo off of it until he meets the crushing blow requirements, meaning that if he hits the opponent twice with it, 2 times in a row with the full string, on the 3rd time that he gets it, it turns into a crushing blow and he pops the opponent up into the air for a combo. And or you can change it into a hard knockdown instead of a combo, right? Where he gets a really good damage with the crushing blow situation and he gets the hit advantage. You understand what I'm saying? That's exactly what I would actually do with Kung Lao's overhead situation. And not only that, if he commits to the full double overhead string, he will be hella minus on block. Like he will be -16 on block or -17 on block. If he goes for the buzzsaw, which is a low, he will be -10. The only way that he can be safe is if he goes for a amplified version of the buzzsaw where he's -6 on block. Now keep in mind that if he goes for the string right here, well, if he goes for any string and he's making himself safe on block and he goes for his overhead string, you understand what I'm saying, and he decides to try and make himself safe, guess what? He has no more bars a meter at all. You understand what I'm saying? And this is exactly what I would actually do with Kung Lao's thing. I would actually make him incredibly minus on block. If he does the regular normal and then he tries to hit you with the low buzzsaw, he will be really minus on block to make it fair. Because like I said, I don't really agree with the fact that people in this, well, characters in this game can be incredibly safe on block with a 50-50 or some type of low overhead mix up in their strings. I don't agree with that. I think you should be really minus on block if the opponent just manages to block it correctly. You understand what I'm saying? Because it is a high chance of you opening up the opponent. You feel what I'm saying? So like I said, what I would do is I would make this low into 12 frames and I would make his overhead into you know, 16 or 17 frames. And this is exactly what I would do with Kung Lao. You understand what I'm saying? So now it's time to get on to the last thing. Alright guys, so basically the last thing that I wanted to talk about is Kung Lao's certain strings that he has. Now, I don't have a problem with this string whatsoever because there is a gap in the final hit if Raiden would actually do it. Come on, Raiden. There you go. Alright, so I would keep him just like this, where there's a gap to where you can actually flawless block this nigga and punish him. Now when he goes for this, he becomes -7 on block, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Now the problem is these 3 strings right here. As you can clearly see here, there is a gap in this. If Raiden would actually do it, there it is right there, right? So come on, there it is. So what I would do with this is that instead of him being -19, he would actually be -8 on block, right? And he will still have the flawless block gap into there, but he definitely will be a lot more safer. You understand what I'm saying? But don't get it twisted, like he can still get hit, right? Now another thing that I would fix is this string right here with the constant highs that he has. The problem that I have is the constant highs here. All of these should be mids. You understand what I'm saying? I don't mind him being -7. I think that's perfectly fine if you commit to the full string. But if he goes for this string right here, instead of him being +1, he should be 0 on block advantage, or he should be -4 on block. You understand what I'm saying? Now when it comes to the highs, the first hit will be a high, but the rest of the hits will be a mid. You understand what I'm saying? And that's exactly what I would do with that, right? Now on the final hit, what they should do is they should actually change this into a flawless block. You understand what I'm saying? If he decides to commit into it, you understand what I'm saying? Where you can flawless block that. Now the last string I wanted to talk about is his 4-2-1 you know, 4 string. The problem that I have with this string is that it's incredibly minus on block. There is no gap in this string whatsoever. I would keep him -9 on block, but on this part right here, when he does this right here, he would actually be -6. You understand what I'm saying? And that's exactly what I would do. -6 or -7 on block, right? Now when he does the full string, he should be minus on block. You understand what I'm saying? -13, right? I'm perfectly fine with that. And this is exactly what I would do with Kung Lao. The rest of his strings are perfectly fine. I don't really see a big deal with the rest of his strings whatsoever. You know, up here, you can't even commit to the full entire string, not unless the opponent actually gets hit. So you don't really have to worry about that whatsoever. So 1-2 string, he's -5 on block, which is perfectly fine. High mid, I don't have a big deal with that whatsoever. You can't even commit to the full string, so I'm not really worried about it. But these are the 3 main strings that I would actually fix. Like I said, his other string, which is this, I'm perfectly fine with the string. There's nothing wrong with this string whatsoever. I already told you guys that I would actually make this 12 frames instead of 16 frames. I've already explained that, but this is exactly what I would do with Kung Lao to make him better. In the other variation, it would apply there as well. He has a hat. Let me actually show you guys that real quick before I actually go out this video. He has a hat where it turns into a mid actually, which is really interesting. So if you're playing in this variation, to make his strings a little bit more safer, well, his strings are already going to be safer on block, but in this variation he has a hat where well, it's called guided hat, I think, where he can move the hat. Now in the other variation, I would keep the frame data the same, like the block advantage where it's -22 on block because it is a projectile. But in this variation, this hat will be the pinnacle of him being kind of safe on block for certain situations, right? So it turns into a mid instead of him being super minus on block. So if we look over here to his hat that he can guide, as you can clearly see here, he's -22 on block. So if you do the one string that he has, what is that string? Okay, so if you do this string right here, right, it turns into a mid. What I would actually do with this well, this special move is I would actually make it like what, -7 or -6 on block, actually -5 on block, right? And this is exactly what I would do with this variation. Now of course I wouldn't necessarily turn it into a mid. I would keep it as a high. The reason why is because if the opponent tries to poke out because they see you going for this hat, because if you look at the startup time, it's 19 frames, which is relatively slow. What I would actually do is I would change that into a high instead of a mid. and it will be -5 on block. Right now, of course, you will be able to change it into a mid when, you know, it's not like, you know what I'm saying, when it's not like close to the opponent. But when you're up close and you do the directional thing, he will become -5. You understand what I'm saying? But the problem is that it's a high now. You understand what I'm saying? Instead of a mid. Now you will be able to guide it and stuff like that, but the problem that I have with this is that you know, it's a mid, right? And I would make him -5 on block, and I would keep it as a high. Right now, when he backs up and he does it and stuff, it will turn into a mid, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. And this is exactly what I would actually do with Kung Lao. You understand what I'm saying? This is all I would do with Kung Lao. You know what I'm saying? And let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? And yeah, this is pretty much all I had to say. So I'll say it one last time. What I would do with Kung Lao's hat, yes, you will be able to guide it, but it will stay as a high, and he will be -5 on block. Now the key here is for the opponent is that if they see that he went for the high, or they see that he's going for this, and they make a good read, he can actually, well, the opponent can actually uppercut him and get a crushing blow, or they can go for a whiff punish, or whatever the case may be. And this is exactly what I would do with Kung Lao. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below.